Dr. Zixith stood before the massive display screen in the research station's main hall. His crystalline body glowed with nervous energy as dozens of alien scientists filled the seats around him. 3 months had passed since first contact with the planet called Earth, and the data he collected made no sense. "Fellow researchers," Zixith began, his voice creating musical tones that the universal translator converted to words. "What I am about to show you will challenge everything we know about habitable worlds." Commander Veltar shifted in his specialized chair designed for his insect-like body. His compound eyes focused on the screen as images of a blue and green planet appeared. "It looks peaceful enough," he clicked. "That is the problem," Zixith replied. "This planet should not support any life at all." The first image showed Earth's atmospheric composition. Xenobiologist Quinra leaned forward from her water tank, her gills fluttering with excitement. 21% oxygen, she bubbled. "That cannot be correct." "I ran the tests 17 times, Zixith confirmed. "The atmosphere contains enough oxygen to create spontaneous combustion. Most of our species would burst into flames simply by breathing this air. Yet humans require this gas mixture to survive." Nervous chatter filled the room. Dr. Melius, existing as a controlled gas cloud in a containment field, pulsed with different colors. "How do they prevent constant fires?" "They do not," Zixith answered. "Humans have learned to control fire. They use it for cooking food, heating their homes, and powering machines. They carry devices that create flames and consider fire a useful tool, rather than a deadly threat." The next data screen showed Earth's gravity measurements. Commander Veltar's mandibles clicked in distress. 2.8 times standard gravity, he read aloud. "My species would be crushed flat on that world's surface." The humans call it normal, Zixith said. "They have developed bones dense enough to support their bodies under this crushing force. Their muscles are so strong that when they visit low-gravity environments, they can leap incredible distances and lift objects, many times their own weight." Quinra's tank bubbled violently as she processed this information. "What about the water content? Surely they live on the land masses." 71% of the planet's surface is covered in water, Zixith continued. "But not just any water. This liquid contains salt concentrations that would dissolve the protective shells of most aquatic species. The humans not only survive contact with this water, they swim in it for pleasure." The room fell silent. Dr. Charlin, whose ethereal form shimmered in the corner, spoke in whispers that barely registered on the translators. "You mean they enter this corrosive liquid voluntarily?" "Humans have sports competitions in this water," Zixith confirmed. "They dive to depths where the pressure would crush most of our deep-sea exploration vehicles. Some humans hold their breath and swim underwater for several minutes without breathing apparatus." More data appeared on screen showing Earth's magnetic field. The readings caused several scientists to check their equipment for malfunctions. "The magnetic field fluctuates constantly," announced Dr. Kessick, his silicon-based form crackling with electrical discharges. "These variations would scramble the navigation systems of every known starship design." "Yet humans developed space travel," Zixith pointed out. "They launched primitive rockets through this chaotic magnetic environment and eventually reached their planet's moon. They did this using technology far less advanced than our simplest spacecraft." Commander Veltar stood up abruptly, his legs scratching against the floor. "How is their technology even possible? Our finest engineers require stable magnetic fields to create functioning electronics. Humans learned to work around the problem," Zixith explained. "They developed shielding and compensation systems. More importantly, they learned to use the magnetic field fluctuations to their advantage. They have a natural navigation sense that uses these magnetic variations." The screen showed temperature readings from various Earth locations. The data caused gasps throughout the room. Surface temperatures range from -40 degrees to +50 degrees, read Rental, his plant-like consciousness rustling with concern. "These extremes would kill most life forms within minutes. Humans live in all these temperature zones," Zixith said. "They have settlements in the frozen regions where the water turns solid, and also in desert areas where the heat would cook most organic matter. They adapt their behavior and create artificial environments to survive." Dr. Nordhan, whose metallic body was designed for extreme conditions, processed this information with mechanical precision. Do they remain in protective structures at all times? No, Sixth answered. Humans regularly expose themselves to these temperature extremes. They have activities they call skiing, where they slide down frozen mountains for entertainment. They also lie in the hot desert sun to change the color of their skin. Quinra's gills fluttered rapidly. What about radiation? Surely they have protection from their star's energy. Their sun produces radiation levels that would sterilize most worlds, Zixith confirmed. But humans have developed natural protection. Their skin produces pigments that absorb harmful radiation. Some humans have very dark skin that provides excellent protection, while others have light skin that allows them to process nutrients from sunlight more efficiently. The most disturbing revelation came next. Humans also expose themselves to this radiation intentionally, Zixith continued. They sunbathe, spending hours under direct starlight. They consider the resulting skin color changes attractive. Commander, Veltar's antennae twitched nervously. Are you certain this species is intelligent? These behaviors sound like the actions of creatures with damaged survival instincts. That brings us to the most puzzling aspect, Zixith said. Humans are not just intelligent, they are remarkably creative and adaptable. They have art, music, literature, and complex social structures. They explore dangerous areas of their planet, not for survival, but for curiosity and entertainment. The screen showed images of human cities built in earthquake zones, coastal areas prone to flooding, and regions where volcanic activity was common. They build permanent settlements in areas where natural disasters occur regularly, Zixith explained. When these disasters destroy their cities, humans rebuild in the same locations. Dr. Melius pulsed with confusion colors. Why would they not relocate to safer areas? They say they like the challenge, Zixith replied. Humans have a concept they call adventure. They actively seek situations that most species would consider life-threatening. The presentation continued with data about Earth's weather systems. Images of hurricanes, tornadoes, and lightning storms filled the screen. These weather phenomena produce energy levels equivalent to multiple nuclear explosions, Zixith noted. Humans have learned to predict these events and take shelter, but they do not abandon the affected regions. Some humans actually chase these storms, he added. They have individuals called storm chasers who drive vehicles toward the most dangerous weather formations to study and photograph them. The room erupted in confused chatter. Species that had survived for millions of years by avoiding danger could not comprehend creatures that sought it out. Commander Veltar raised a claw for attention. Dr. Zixith, how did humans achieve dominance on this impossible world? That is what we need to determine, Zixith replied. Preliminary observations suggest that humans succeeded not despite their dangerous environment, but because of it. The constant challenges forced them to develop remarkable problem-solving abilities and physical resilience. Xenobiologist Quinra bubbled thoughtfully. Have we made contact with these humans directly? Limited contact only, Zixith answered. We are still determining safe protocols. Remember, these are creatures that consider their Deathworld normal. We must be extremely careful in our interactions. The meeting concluded with more questions than answers. As the scientists dispersed, each returned to their specialized habitats to process the impossible data. Earth represented everything they had been taught was incompatible with intelligent life. Yet somehow humans had not just survived but prospered. Dr. Zixith remained at the podium, staring at the image of Earth on the screen. 3 months of research had only revealed how little they understood about this bizarre world and its inhabitants. The next phase of study would require closer observation, but first they needed to answer one crucial question. Were humans the exception to every rule of survival, or were there principles of adaptation that the galaxy had never discovered? Captain Threndock gripped the controls of his research vessel as it descended through Earth's atmosphere. His insectoid body trembled with nervousness. The ship had been designed to withstand asteroid impacts, but the data about Earth's weather made him question whether it was strong enough for this mission. Atmospheric entry complete, announced his navigator in clicking sounds. Initial readings show stable conditions. Dr. Melius floated in her containment field nearby, her gaseous, form-shifting colors as she analyzed the air composition readings. The oxygen levels are even higher than our instruments detected from orbit, she observed. How do the humans prevent their entire planet from burning? Jake Collins, the human weather expert assigned as their liaison, smiled from his protective suit. The aliens had insisted he wear full environmental protection, not understanding that he found Earth's atmosphere perfectly breathable. The atmosphere has nitrogen mixed in, he explained patiently. It dilutes the oxygen enough to prevent constant fires. Plus, we learned to control ignition sources. Captain Threndock's compound eyes focused on the human with confusion. You speak as if your species deliberately manages these dangerous conditions. We do, Jake replied. We have weather services that monitor atmospheric conditions constantly. We predict storms, track temperature changes, and warn people about dangerous conditions days in advance. The ship's sensors began registering unusual atmospheric disturbances ahead. Dr. Melius pulsed with alarm colors as the readings appeared on the main display. Energy readings are increasing rapidly, she announced. Something large is approaching. Jake looked at the display and nodded calmly. That's Hurricane Patricia, Category 3 storm. Pretty typical for this time of year. Captain Threndock's mandibles clicked frantically. Category 3? What does this classification mean? Oh, we rate hurricanes from 1 to 5 based on wind speed, Jake explained casually. Category 3 means winds around 120 miles per hour. Not too bad, really. The aliens stared at him in horror. Dr. Melius's containment field flickered as she processed this information. You classify these destructive events? How many categories of destruction exist? 5 main categories for hurricanes, Jake said. But we also have tornadoes, which we rate differently. Then there are thunderstorms, ice storms, heat waves, blizzards, and drought conditions. Each has its own rating system. Captain Threndock felt his exoskeleton growing cold. Your species has developed classification systems for multiple types of extinction events. They're not extinction events, Jake laughed. They're just weather. Sure, they can be dangerous if you're not prepared, but humans have been dealing with storms for thousands of years. We know how to build shelters when to evacuate and how to stay safe. The first winds from Hurricane Patricia began buffeting the research vessel. Captain Threndock fought to maintain control as his ship, designed for interplanetary travel, was tossed around like a leaf. Warning alarms blared throughout the bridge as systems strained against forces they were never designed to handle. Hull, stress at 60% of maximum, reported the navigator. Recommend immediate retreat to orbit. Jake watched the alien crew panic and felt confused. This is really just a moderate storm, he said. My grandmother used to sit on her porch and watch storms like this. She said they were relaxing. Dr. Melius pulsed rapidly through several colors indicating extreme distress. Your elderly family members observe these violent atmospheric events for pleasure? Storm watching is pretty common, Jake confirmed. Lots of people enjoy the power and beauty of severe weather. Some folks make a living chasing storms and taking pictures. There are even tour groups that take people to see tornadoes safely. The research vessel shuddered as a particularly strong gust hit. Captain Threndock's 6 arms worked frantically at the controls to prevent the ship from being torn apart. These tour groups, he managed to ask between emergency maneuvers. They deliberately seek out these atmospheric disasters? Sure, Jake said. Storm chasing is a popular hobby. People drive specially equipped vehicles right up to tornadoes to study them and get photographs. Some of the best weather research comes from storm chasers who go where regular scientists can't. A brilliant flash lit up the bridge as lightning struck nearby. The electromagnetic pulse temporarily disrupted several of the ship's systems. Captain Threndock's antennae drooped as he realized his advanced starship was being overwhelmed by what humans considered normal weather. That lightning bolt, Dr. Melius whispered. It contained enough energy to power one of our cities for a full cycle. Jake nodded appreciatively. Lightning is pretty impressive. We get about 100 lightning strikes on Earth every second. Most people don't pay much attention unless it's really close. Kids often try to count the time between thunder and lightning to see how far away the strike was. Children study these energy discharges? Captain Threndock asked in disbelief. It's basic science education, Jake explained. We teach kids about weather patterns, how storms form, and safety procedures. Most humans learn about severe weather in elementary school. The storm intensified around them. Hail began pelting the research vessel, each ice chunk the size of a small asteroid by alien standards. The impacts rang against the hull like hammer blows, creating dents in armor plating designed to deflect space debris. Solid water projectiles, observed the navigator. Impact velocity suggests terminal velocity through atmosphere. Each projectile carries kinetic energy equivalent to explosive rounds. Jake looked out at the hail and shrugged. Looks like golf ball-sized hail. Not too bad. I've seen hail as big as softballs that put holes right through car roofs. This storm is pretty mild, actually. Dr. Melius flickered between colors so rapidly she appeared almost white. Humans have personal transportation that survives impacts from these frozen projectiles? Well, cars get dented pretty badly in severe hailstorms, Jake admitted. But we have insurance for weather damage. Most people just park under bridges or in garages when hail gets really big. The research vessel's navigation system began failing as the storm's electromagnetic activity interfered with its sensors. Captain Threndock realized they were flying blind in conditions that would destroy most spacecraft in the galaxy. How do humans travel during these events? We usually don't, Jake said. When the weather gets really severe, we stay indoors. Schools and businesses close, people stock up on supplies, and we wait for the storm to pass. Emergency services keep working, though. Police, firefighters, and medical teams go out in almost any weather to help people. Emergency services continue operating during extinction-level atmospheric events? Dr. Melius asked. They have to, Jake explained. People get hurt or trapped during storms. Emergency workers have special training and equipment for severe weather. Some of them actually specialize in storm rescue operations. The hurricane's eye wall approached, bringing with it winds that made the previous conditions seem calm. The research vessel began spinning despite Captain Threndock's best efforts. Systems failed one by one, as the ship was overwhelmed by forces no galactic engineer had ever considered. We must retreat, Captain Threndock announced. This vessel cannot survive these conditions. Jake looked concerned for the first time. You want to leave during the worst part? The eye wall is the most dangerous section of a hurricane. You should wait for the eye to pass over us. It'll be calm for about 20 minutes, then we'll get the backside of the storm. You want us to remain in this maelstrom? Dr. Melius pulsed in terrified colors. The eye is actually really beautiful, Jake said. Clear skies, calm winds, sometimes you can see stars even during the day. It's one of nature's most amazing phenomena. Captain Threndock fought to maintain altitude as his ship was battered by winds that could strip continents bare. The idea that humans found beauty in this chaos challenged everything he understood about intelligent life and survival instincts. Your species considers these atmospheric catastrophes aesthetically pleasing? He asked. Weather can be incredibly beautiful, Jake confirmed. Lightning displays, rainbow formations after storms, snow falling at night under streetlights, the way clouds look during sunset. Lots of people take up photography just to capture interesting weather. As if summoned by his words, the eye of the hurricane passed over them. The violent wind suddenly stopped, and brilliant sunlight streamed down from a perfect circle of blue sky surrounded by towering walls of clouds. The transformation was so dramatic that even the panicked aliens paused to stare. See? Jake said, softly. Beautiful. Dr. Melius stopped her frantic color changes and floated quietly in her containment field. Captain Threndock let his many arms relax on the controls for the first time since entering the atmosphere. For 20 minutes they drifted in perfect calm while surrounded by one of the most destructive forces on Earth. This peaceful center exists within every storm? Captain Threndock asked. Every hurricane has an eye, Jake confirmed. It's caused by the rotation and pressure differentials. The faster the winds spin around the outside, the calmer it gets in the center. Then the eye passed, and the backside of the hurricane hit them with renewed fury. The research vessel resumed its struggle, against forces that defied galactic understanding of atmospheric science. Biologist Irental extended his root-like sensors into the Earth's soil, immediately recoiling in shock. His plant-based consciousness flickered with distress as he processed the readings. The ground beneath him contained levels of organic activity. That should have been impossible. The microbial density is beyond measurement, he whispered to his colleagues through chemical signals. There are more living organisms in a single handful of this soil than exist on most entire worlds. Microbiologist. Keswick scraped a sample of Earth with his silicon-based appendage, his crystalline body sparking as he analyzed the data. These readings cannot be accurate. The soil contains billions of microscopic life forms per cubic unit. They should be competing for resources and destroying each other. Lisa Murphy, their human marine biologist guide, knelt beside them and casually scooped up some dirt with her bare hands. Actually, most soil microbes work together. They form complex networks that help plants grow and process nutrients. The forest floor is basically one giant living system. Irental's leaves rustled, with confusion. You mean these organisms cooperate rather than compete for survival? Both, actually, Lisa explained. There's competition, but also lots of cooperation. Fungi connect to plant roots and share nutrients. Bacteria break down dead material and make it available for other organisms. It's like a huge underground internet made of living things. The alien researchers followed Lisa deeper into the forest, their instruments registering life signs everywhere they looked. Trees stretched hundreds of feet into the air, their massive trunks requiring the aliens to crane their necks upward to see the canopy. Keswick calculated that the largest trees contained more biomass than most space stations. These organisms achieve such size without mechanical support structures? He asked, running his sensors over the bark of an ancient oak tree. Trees are basically living skyscrapers, Lisa said. They pump water up from their roots to leaves that might be 30 stories high. They do it using just internal pressure and capillary action. No moving parts, no external power source. Ben Torres, their wilderness survival expert, pointed to a bird's nest visible in the upper branches. That nest probably weighs about 2 pounds, but it's sitting on a branch that's supporting its own weight plus the weight of leaves, other branches, and whatever animals live up there. The whole structure flexes in the wind but almost never breaks. Irental processed this information with growing alarm. These trees survive in the destructive wind events we observed yesterday? Trees are designed for it, Ben confirmed. They bend instead of breaking. The roots go deep and spread wide to anchor them. Some trees actually get stronger when they're stressed by wind because they grow thicker wood in response. The group moved toward a stream where the water level readings caused Keswick's systems to overload temporarily. The liquid flow contains dissolved minerals at concentrations that would corrode our hull plating, he reported. Yet I detect abundant life signs in the water itself. Lisa waded into the stream without hesitation, her boots splashing in water that the aliens considered a corrosive chemical solution. Freshwater streams support huge ecosystems, she explained. Fish, insects, amphibians, microscopic life, aquatic plants. The minerals you're detecting are actually nutrients that feed the whole system. She reached into the water and pulled out a small fish, holding it gently in her cupped hands. This little guy has been living his whole life in water that would dissolve your equipment. His gills extract oxygen directly from the water and his scales protect him from the dissolved minerals. Ben pointed to the fish's eyes. He can see through the water clearly enough to hunt and avoid predators. His lateral line system detects vibrations in the water so he knows when something is approaching. It's like having radar built into his body. The fish flicked its tail and jumped out of Lisa's hands back into the stream. Irental watched it disappear into the corrosive liquid with amazement. The creature returns voluntarily to the dangerous environment? It's not dangerous to him, Lisa explained. This stream is his home. He's perfectly adapted to live here. Take him out of the water and he'd die in minutes, but in his natural environment he can survive for years. Keswick's sensors detected movement in the forest canopy above them. Large life forms approaching from multiple directions, he announced. Mass suggests potential predators. Ben looked up and smiled. Just squirrels. They're harmless little guys who live in the trees and eat nuts. 3 gray squirrels bounded through the branches overhead, jumping gaps that would have been impossible for most known species. They moved with speed and agility that defied the laws of physics as the aliens understood them. Those creatures are defying gravitational forces, observed Irental. They leap distances many times their body length while navigating through three-dimensional space. Squirrels are amazing athletes, Ben agreed. They can jump 10 times their body length, run up vertical tree trunks, and hang upside down from branches. Their brains are wired to calculate trajectory and landing spots instantly. One of the squirrels paused on a branch directly above them, chattering loudly before leaping to another tree. Lisa laughed at the sound. He's probably warning the other squirrels about us. They have different calls for different types of danger. The small creature possesses communication abilities? Keswick asked. Most animals communicate in some way, Lisa confirmed. Birds sing to establish territories and attract mates. Wolves howl to coordinate pack activities. Even insects use chemical signals to share information about food sources and threats. The group continued deeper into the forest where Irental's sensors detected something that made his consciousness flicker with disbelief. I am reading a single organism that spans several square kilometers, he announced. This cannot be possible. You're probably detecting the fungal network, Ben said. Underground fungi can spread their root systems across huge areas. There's one fungus in Oregon that covers over 2,000 acres. It's technically one of the largest living organisms on Earth. Lisa knelt down and brushed away some leaf litter to reveal thin, white threads spreading through the soil. These fungal threads connect to tree roots all through the forest. They share nutrients, water, and even chemical signals between different trees. If one tree is attacked by insects, it can warn other trees through the fungal network. Keswick's systems sparked with confusion. Individual organisms sharing resources across vast distances? This suggests a form of collective intelligence. Some scientists call it the Wood Wide Web, Lisa said. The forest is basically one big interconnected system. Trees that are doing well share nutrients with trees that are struggling. Mother, trees take care of their offspring. It's like a huge family network. Ben pointed to a fallen log covered in mushrooms and moss. Even when trees die, they keep contributing to the system. Dead wood provides homes for insects, nutrients for fungi, and structure for new plants to grow on. Nothing goes to waste. Irental extended his sensors toward the decomposing log and immediately detected thousands of life forms living in and on the dead wood. The deceased organism supports more life than most living worlds, he whispered. Decomposition is just another part of the cycle, Lisa explained. Bacteria and fungi break down dead material. Insects eat the decaying wood. Birds eat the insects. Everything feeds something else. The nutrients from this dead tree will eventually become part of living trees. The alien researchers followed a game trail deeper into the forest where they encountered their first large mammal. A white-tailed deer stood frozen in the path ahead. Its large eyes focused on the strange visitors. Ben motioned for everyone to remain still. Deer are prey animals, he whispered. They're designed to detect predators and escape quickly. Watch how alert it is. The deer's ears swiveled independently, monitoring sounds from different directions. Its nostrils flared as it analyzed their scent. Every muscle in its body was tense and ready for instant flight. The creature possesses advanced sensory capabilities, observed Keswick. Multiple directional audio receptors, chemical analysis systems, and rapid threat assessment protocols. Prey animals have to be incredibly aware of their surroundings, Ben explained quietly. This deer can hear sounds we can't detect, smell things from miles away, and see motion that would be invisible to us. It's basically a living sensor array. The deer decided they weren't an immediate threat and bounded away with leaps that carried it effortlessly over fallen logs and through dense undergrowth. Its white tail flashed as it disappeared into the forest with barely a sound. It moves through this complex environment without disturbing the vegetation, Irental noted. The coordination required suggests advanced neural processing. Deer have been living in forests for millions of years, Lisa said. They know every plant, every sound, every scent. They can navigate in complete darkness and detect predators from incredible distances. As they continued their survey, the aliens encountered more impossible life forms. A spider spinning a web demonstrated engineering principles that violated their understanding of material science. The web was stronger than steel cable while being nearly invisible and flexible enough to absorb impact without breaking. Dr. Charlin flickered between dimensions as she observed Carlos Rivera climbing the steel framework of a half-built skyscraper. Her ethereal consciousness struggled to comprehend why an intelligent being would voluntarily position himself hundreds of meters above solid ground with only thin metal beams for support. The human is engaging in this behavior by choice? She asked her colleagues through telepathic pulses. Physicist Nordhahn's mechanical body whirred as he calculated the forces involved. At this height, a fall would result in certain termination, yet the human shows no signs of distress. His vital signs remain stable. Carlos paused in his work to wave at the floating research platform observing him. He stood casually on a beam barely wider than his feet, with nothing but empty air on both sides. The wind at that height would have blown most alien species off the structure instantly. Been doing this for 15 years? Carlos called out cheerfully. Love working up high. You get a great view of the city and there's always a good breeze. Cultural. Observer Visara's tentacles writhed with confusion as she processed his thoughts. He derives pleasure from this activity. His brain chemistry shows satisfaction and contentment, not the terror response we would expect. Amy Patterson, the emergency room doctor serving as their human liaison, watched from the platform with professional interest. Carlos represents thousands of construction workers who build in high places every day. They have safety equipment and training, but the work is still inherently dangerous. Your species deliberately assigns individuals to perform activities with high probability of death? Dr. Charlin asked. We try to minimize the risks, Amy explained, but humans have always built upward. We have cities with buildings over 100 stories tall. Someone has to construct them, and humans adapt to working at extreme heights. Norton's sensors tracked Carlos as the construction worker moved along the beam with casual confidence. His balance and spatial awareness exceed the capabilities of most navigation systems. How does he maintain position in three-dimensional space while performing complex manual tasks? Practice and natural ability, Amy replied. Humans have excellent proprioception. We instinctively know where our bodies are in space. Construction workers develop this sense even further through experience. The research team descended to street level where they encountered Steve Clark, a professional athlete training for a marathon. His exercise routine involved running 26 miles without stopping, a feat that the aliens initially assumed was impossible for any organic being. The human is engaged in sustained locomotion that would exhaust our most efficient mechanical systems, Nordhahn observed as Steve jogged past. His energy expenditure rate should result in system failure within minutes. Bizarra monitored Steve's thoughts as he ran. His consciousness shows determination and focus, but also enjoyment. He finds this prolonged physical stress pleasurable. Steve noticed the alien observers and slowed to a conversational pace, though he continued running in place. Training for the Boston Marathon, he explained, barely breathing hard. This is just a 20-mile training run. Nothing too serious. Yanyu. Consider 20 miles of continuous movement to be casual exercise, Dr. Charlin asked. Well, I've been building up to it, Steve said. Started with just a few miles a day and gradually increased the distance. The human body adapts pretty quickly if you push it consistently. Amy watched Steve's vital signs on her medical scanner. Humans are persistence hunters by evolution. We're designed for endurance activities. Steve's heart rate and breathing are elevated but well within normal ranges for sustained exercise. Persistence hunters? Norton inquired. Early humans hunted by chasing prey animals until they collapsed from exhaustion, Amy explained. We can't run as fast as most animals, but we can keep going much longer. We literally ran our prey to death. The aliens processed this information with growing unease. Steve resumed his run, disappearing down the street at a pace that would have been impossible for most galactic species to maintain for even short distances. Their next observation session took place in Amy's hospital, where they witnessed medical procedures that challenged every principle of biology they understood. Amy led them into an operating room where a surgical team was performing what she casually described as routine heart surgery. The medical team is intentionally damaging the human's primary circulatory pump? Dr. Charlin asked in horror. They're replacing a defective valve, Amy explained calmly. The patient's heart wasn't working properly, so we're fixing it. We stop the heart temporarily, make the repairs, and restart it. Vizura recoiled from the patient's unconscious mind. The individual's consciousness has been chemically suppressed. You have rendered him unconscious and vulnerable. Anesthesia allows us to perform surgery without causing pain, Amy said. The patient is completely unaware of the procedure. When he wakes up, his heart will work better than it has in years. Norton's system sparked with disbelief as he watched the surgeons work. They are manipulating internal organs with primitive cutting tools. The precision required exceeds our most advanced robotic systems. Human hands are incredibly dexterous, Amy noted. Surgeons train for years to develop the skill and steadiness needed for delicate operations. This particular surgeon has performed thousands of heart procedures. The lead surgeon looked up from his work to address the alien observers. We're just finishing up. This valve replacement should give the patient another 20 years of normal heart function. You extend the organism's operational lifespan through mechanical intervention? Dr. Charlin asked. That's the goal, the surgeon confirmed. We repair what's broken, replace what's worn out, and treat diseases that would have been fatal just a few decades ago. Modern medicine has roughly doubled human lifespan in the past century. After the surgery, Amy took the research team to the emergency department where they witnessed the daily reality of human medical care. Doctors and nurses moved efficiently between patients with injuries and conditions that would have been considered hopeless on most worlds. This patient fell 30 feet from a roof and survived, Amy explained, checking on a construction worker. Broken ribs, collapsed lung, internal bleeding. We've repaired the damage and he'll make a full recovery. The human survived impact, forces that would destroy most organic structures. Norton calculated the energy involved. The deceleration should have liquefied his internal organs. Human bodies are remarkably resilient, Amy said. We see people survive car crashes, falls, explosions, and other trauma that seems impossible. The human skeleton and organ structure can absorb tremendous punishment. In the next bed, a woman was being treated for hypothermia after falling through ice into a frozen lake. She was underwater for almost 10 minutes in near-freezing water, Amy reported. Her core body temperature dropped to levels that would kill most organisms, but we've warmed her up and she's recovering normally. Dr. Charlin flickered with amazement. The human survived submersion in liquid at temperatures below the freezing point of most biological systems? Cold water hypothermia cases sometimes survive extended submersion, Amy explained. The cold slows down cellular metabolism, which gives us time to revive them. We've had patients recover after being underwater for over an hour, Vizura observed. The minds of the medical staff and found something even more puzzling than their patients' survival abilities. The medical personnel show no surprise at these recovery rates. They consider these outcomes routine. We see remarkable recoveries every day, Amy confirmed. The human body has amazing healing capabilities. We just help the process along with medical intervention. The research team spent the afternoon documenting case after case of humans surviving conditions that would have been instantly fatal to most galactic species. Burns covering large percentages of skin surface, massive blood loss, organ failure, severe head trauma. Injuries that Amy described as challenging but treatable. Your species has developed medical technology to reverse catastrophic system failures, Norton asked. We've learned to work with the body's natural healing processes, Amy replied. Humans can regenerate skin, heal broken bones, recover from brain injuries, and adapt to missing organs. We've just gotten better at supporting these processes. Their final observation involved watching humans engage in what they called extreme sports. Rock climbers scaled vertical cliff faces using only their hands and feet. Skydivers jumped from aircraft and fell toward the ground at terminal velocity before deploying parachutes at the last possible moment. Surfers rode waves that contained enough energy to level buildings. These activities serve no survival purpose, Dr. Charlin observed. The humans engage in life-threatening behavior for entertainment. Humans seek challenges, Amy explained. We push our limits physically and mentally. Extreme sports test our abilities and provide intense experiences that many people find rewarding. They watched a group of mountain climbers preparing to scale a peak that would have been considered impossible terrain for most species. The climbers carried minimal equipment and planned to spend days in conditions that would quickly kill unprotected aliens. The atmospheric pressure and temperature at that altitude will stress their biological systems beyond normal operational parameters. Ambassador Prime Felnock stood before the massive assembly hall of the Galactic Council, his crystalline form reflecting the lights of thousands of representatives from across the galaxy. The chamber buzzed with nervous energy as species from every corner of known space waited to hear the research team's final report on the impossible world called Earth. Esteemed members of the Council, Felnox began, his voice carrying across the vast space. We have gathered to address the most unusual discovery in galactic history. The planet Earth and its dominant species, humans, challenge everything we understand about life, survival, and civilization. Dr. Zixith approached the central podium, his research data displayed on screens visible throughout the chamber. Representatives from the aquatic delegation immediately began filtering their water supply upon seeing Earth's ocean composition data. The Silicon Confederacy's delegates sparked with alarm as atmospheric readings showed oxygen levels that would corrode their bodies within hours. The evidence is undeniable, Zixith announced. Earth possesses environmental conditions that individually would be classified as extinction-level threats. Combined together, they create a world that should be utterly uninhabitable. Threndok joined the presentation, his insectoid form still showing damage from his encounter with Hurricane Patricia. Our most advanced vessels, designed for interstellar travel and capable of withstanding asteroid impacts, were nearly destroyed by what humans classify as routine weather patterns. Nervous clicks and whistles filled the chamber as the weather data appeared on screen. Wind speeds that would strip the atmosphere from most worlds, electrical discharges containing more energy than weapon systems, and frozen projectiles falling from the sky with terminal velocity. The humans have developed classification systems for these atmospheric catastrophes, Threndok continued. They rate destructive events on numerical scales and teach their children to predict and survive them. What we consider extinction events they call Tuesday. Biologist Irental's plant-like form rustled as he presented the biological impossibilities. Every square meter of Earth's surface contains more life forms than exist on most member worlds. The soil alone harbors billions of microscopic organisms that have formed cooperative networks spanning continents. The Hive Collective's representatives buzzed with disbelief. Their own world supported perhaps millions of organisms total, carefully balanced and controlled ecosystems. The idea of uncontrolled biological diversity on Earth's scale seemed like chaos theory made manifest. Trees grow to heights that would require mechanical support on any rational world, Irental reported. Animals possess sensory and physical capabilities that exceed our most advanced technology. A single forest contains more engineering solutions than our finest research facilities have developed. Dr. Charlin flickered between dimensions as she addressed the psychological aspects of human behavior. Most disturbing is the human response to danger. Where rational species develop fear and avoidance behaviors, humans show curiosity and attraction to hazardous conditions. The Ethereal Confederation's delegates whispered among themselves in frequencies barely detectable by the translation systems. Their species had evolved beyond physical form specifically to avoid the dangers of material existence. The concept of beings who sought out physical challenges was incomprehensible. Humans deliberately engage in activities that would be considered torture or execution methods on most worlds, Charlin continued. They climb vertical rock faces for recreation, jump from aircraft for entertainment, and voluntarily subject themselves to extreme temperatures and pressures. Ambassador Prime Felnox raised his hand for attention. The question before this council is clear. How do we classify a world and species that defies every principle of galactic civilization? The first to respond was Delegate Morthen from the Crystalline Republics. Honored Ambassador, the environmental data alone suggests Earth should be classified as a prohibited zone. The atmospheric composition, would dissolve our citizens within moments of exposure. Aquatic Delegate Bluevell agreed from her specialized tank. The water composition reports indicate universal toxicity. Our species cannot survive in environments with such mineral concentrations. We recommend immediate quarantine protocols. More voices joined the discussion. The Gaseous Collective declared Earth's magnetic field variations incompatible with their energy-based existence. The Mechanical Federation calculated that their circuits would fail within hours of planetary exposure. Species after species presented evidence that Earth represented an existential threat to their survival. Perhaps, suggested Delegate Sylvan, from the peaceful territories, we should consider Earth uninhabitable and relocate the human population to more suitable worlds. The chamber fell silent as the implications settled. Relocating an entire species was unprecedented, but the alternative seemed to be accepting that a death world could support intelligent life. Then, Ruth Morrison stepped forward. The human ambassador, moved with the casual confidence that had characterized every human the research team had observed. She wore no protective equipment, breathed the station's atmosphere without difficulty, and seemed completely comfortable in the low-gravity environment that most species found disorienting. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Ruth began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber without amplification systems. I appreciate your concern for human welfare, but I believe there's been a fundamental misunderstanding. Felnox gestured for her to continue. Ruth walked to the center of the chamber, moving with an ease that reminded everyone present of the physical capabilities the research team had documented. You see Earth as a death world because you're measuring it against the standards of your own environments, Ruth explained. But every world is a death world to someone. The peaceful garden planets you call home would be equally deadly to us. Gestured to the environmental data still displayed on the screens. The low oxygen levels on your worlds would suffocate us. The reduced gravity would cause our bones to weaken and our muscles to atrophy. The stable climates would leave us unprepared for any environmental changes. Delegate Morthan's crystals chimed with confusion. You consider our stable environments to be dangerous? Dangerous to humans, yes, Ruth confirmed. We need challenges to stay healthy. Our bodies require resistance to maintain strength. Our minds need problems to solve. Take away the challenges, and humans become weak and unfocused. She activated a holographic display showing human achievements. You focused on the dangers of our world but haven't considered what those dangers taught us. The storms that destroy your ships taught us to build better. The crushing gravity that would paralyze you made us strong enough to explore space. The dangerous wildlife that would terrify you taught us cooperation and tool use. Images flashed across the display showing human cities, space stations, and exploration vessels. We didn't survive despite our environment. We thrived because of it. Every challenge Earth presented became an opportunity to grow stronger, smarter, and more adaptable. Ruth walked toward the aquatic delegation. You fear our oceans because of their mineral content, but those same minerals provided the building blocks for complex life. The pressure at depth that would crush you gave us creatures whose biological engineering surpasses your finest technology. She turned to the gaseous collective. You see our magnetic field as chaotic interference. We learned to use it for navigation and protection from solar radiation. The variations you call dangerous, we call useful. The chamber remained silent as Ruth addressed each delegation's concerns. For every environmental hazard they identified, she explained how humans had turned it into an advantage. The question isn't whether Earth is a death world, Ruth continued. The question is whether you're willing to expand your definition of what makes a world livable. We've shown that intelligence can adapt to any environment, not just the comfortable ones. Ambassador Prime Felnox considered her words carefully. Ambassador Morrison, are you suggesting that humans could help other species adapt to challenging environments? That's exactly what I'm suggesting, Ruth replied. Humans have developed techniques for surviving in extreme conditions that could benefit every species here. We've learned to work with dangerous environments instead of avoiding them. She gestured to the research team. Your scientists have documented our capabilities, but they've also seen our methods. We can teach stress adaptation, environmental engineering, and crisis management, skills that could help every civilization expand beyond their current limitations. Dr. Zixith spoke up from the research section. The human proposals have merit. Their adaptation techniques could allow species to colonize previously uninhabitable worlds. More importantly, added Dr. Charlin, their psychological approaches to challenge and adversity could help civilizations grow stronger rather than just safer. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Representatives argued about the risks and benefits of accepting human methods. Some species worried about the safety of deliberate challenge-seeking. Others saw the potential for expansion and growth. Finally, Ambassador Prime Felnox called for a vote. The question before us is whether to classify Earth as a prohibited death world or as something entirely new.